So I've done it every year. I've not had this channel, operational at least. So I might as well go through my list of worst to best movies and what I remember of the film. Starting at the worst. These are the only ones. These are the ones that I've seen that were new for 2021. Stillwater, a very boring movie that will not age well because of some identity politics in it. News of the World, a slow, boring film about a guy who tries to get a little girl to her family, and then that family doesn't really want her. All they want is like an extra free. All they want is like basically a slave, and so he takes her with him. Shang-Chi. A Marvel film with too much action that drags, that really puts the film at a standstill. The basic Marvel film, bad guy dies, good guy survives. Psych 3, this is Gus. The worst of the Psych films. They've had 4 of them. Imagine the worst episode you ever saw of Psych. This is it. Cop Shop. I fell asleep multiple times. I was woken up once by a cat jumping on me. Another time I was woken up because the prison started being attacked at the end of the movie. That's when I woke up. Like the last, I guess, like 20 minutes. Army of the Dead. Overhyped. And more of a meh to me. Nothing really great. It could have been better. But nothing great. Ice Road. Another Liam Neeson film. Anything after Taken. It's just, hey, another Liam Neeson film. You know what you're getting into when you watch those. A movie about a guy and his special needs brother who decide to drive trucks on an ice road because a mine crashes or has a failure because the rich people are cutting corners. The Marksman, another Liam Neeson movie where he helps an migrant child get to his family after his mother is killed. The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. The first one was better. This one was very slow and very boring. If you watched my collection video, you remember that I said that I actually did not get a digital copy inside of my Blu-ray that I bought on Black Friday for $8. It's just the Blu-ray and the DVD. I don't really care. I'll probably never watch the film again, so I don't really need a digital copy. But why do you have it? Because other people that browse my collection liked it, so have it for them. Jungle Cruise. Pirates of the Caribbean knockoff. Literally. It was a great swashbuckling action film, like Return to Form for Disney, and then it turned into Pirates of the Caribbean knockoff. Never recovered. Peter Rabbit 2. A fun little kids film that won't be too mind-numbingly dull for adults. Although Corgan, whatever the hell his name is, I think it's like Corgan because it's like after kind of like the dog Corgi. Whatever. The main actor's voice is a little annoying, which they point out in the movie. They have one of the other people. They have like some critic of Peter's book say that his voice is annoying or something like that. I don't remember. I only watched it once. Black Widow. A film that I only saw in theaters because someone else wanted to go. What I remember of this film. That it happened Natasha's kind of family, like the adopted one, saved all the Black Widows and freed them from their slaver master, whatever you want to call him. Then obviously she died at the end, and then their sister was told to, well, not really die at the end. She was taken prisoner at the end, or whatever the fuck you want to say. And then flash forward into the present of the MCU, and her sister is told to go kill Hawkeye because apparently everybody thinks he killed Black Widow. Batman The Long Halloween Parts 1 and 2. Part 1 was better than Part 2. Part 2 was a little boring in my opinion. If they trimmed it together and made it just one film, it would have been a better movie to me. Because then you wouldn't have the Part 1, Part 2 syndrome. Mortal Kombat. The cartoons are better. Yes, the Mortal Kombat Legends films are actually better and more entertaining. For some reason, they made up some new character instead of just trying to use the ones from the games. It's like, okay, add in your little self-inserts, but keep all the game characters in it. You're supposed to be doing the first game? Have it be the first game. This is a Mortal Kombat without the tournament in it. Even though there was a tournament, it just wasn't the Mortal Kombat tournament. The Green Knight, a decent enough film that skews off the book at the end, and then for some God knows reason, has some kind of feminist agenda scene at the end. Like for like an end credit scene. It's like, okay, so the storyline you're going with is that the knight chickens out on his promise, runs out. Well, he chickens out, but he also gets attacked. Runs out. Says he's wearing a belt that some witch gave him. He can't die or get injured. He has a nice, happy life and a happy family. And then in his old age, his kingdom is invaded and he dies. And he takes the belt off and his head falls off. Because he's succumbed to his wounds. And then you had him realize what's going to happen. That was the vision he saw. And he decided he'd rather die than have that fate. And then, so he dies. But then you have some little girl continuing in this vision world, which doesn't exist because it's all in his head. Pick up the crown, put it on, and now she's the queen. Does that make any sense? No. It's just a dumb scene. Spider-Man, No Way Home. If they had cut out Spider-Boy and his friends a little more, and actually showed a little respect to Doctor Strange and not have him be beaten by math, it would have been higher up. As it sits, I'll never watch this movie again, and I'll never watch the movie in its entirety, because I just skimmed through it because it was just garbage during the Spider-Boy parts, because I don't like Spider-Boy. And I'll just skip right to when Andrew pops out of the sling ring hole. Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. It was fine. I mean, not as good as the first one. I mean, the cartoon cheesiness of the villains was a little pathetic at some point, sometimes. The Suicide Squad. A gore fest. Yep. Gore for the sake of gore, and way to kill the franchise, Bakula. Not that it's Scott Bakula's fault that either Star Trek or this thing died, because he's not in this one. Because the guy who was running, Les Moonves, killed Star Trek because he didn't like Star Trek. That's why Star Trek died. It wasn't Scott Bakula, it wasn't the ratings, it was Les Moonves. And the head of the studio said, you can't make it anymore. You can't make it anymore. The last quote-unquote good movie of the year that I would want to watch over again. The Little Things. A decent enough movie from HBO Max that nice little mystery. Not that it has its like twist or anything. It's just a nice little mystery. about cops that did the job that they were told that they should have been doing, but they can't because, liberal lawyers and that kind of stuff. I almost messed up into Spider-Boy again. Snake Eyes. I have no connection to G.I. Joe whatsoever. Except for the fact that I owned maybe 4 of them when I was a kid. Never watched the cartoons. That was off long before I came around. So, it was a nice little action movie. Something that you would have usually seen from the early thousands. Reminiscence. A decent enough little film that you usually see from Sci-Fi. And it'll probably live on Sci-Fi. It's like one of those movies where people will discover it later on and go, oh, that wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as we said it was. It was actually a little decent. It's nothing great. It's nothing like, oh, I really need to watch Reminiscence. That movie was great. Oh, I can't wait to rewatch it. Nothing like that. Decent enough little film. Wrath of Man. This movie was #1 for a little while. It's a Guy Ritchie film. It's shot in different ways. It's like one of those movies that those TV show episodes where, let's say a character dies, you see them die, and then 4 days ago, you see how it happened. That's what this movie does. It's about a crime boss whose kid is killed by some amateurs, and he goes and kills the amateurs by pretending to work for them and be a nobody. Free Guy. Epic NBC Man, the movie. That's all I'm going to say about that movie. Mortal Kombat Legends. Battle of the Realms, aka Mortal Kombat Legends 2. This is Mortal Kombat's video game storyline for #2, and I think it's also supposed to be #3 as well. Don't quote me. I never really cared about the storyline of the video games. I just kind of played the games. It's like, hey, pick Sub-Zero and use him to kill people. That's all I ever bothered with. Dune. Part 1. Part 1 was added later after the fact, because they decided they were going to make a part 2. A little slow in the beginning, if I'm being honest. But once you actually start getting into the movie, you accept why that slow stuff had to be there to set up the storyline. Ghostbusters Afterlife. A fun continuation of the Ghostbusters series that there are only 3 movies in. No, the parody, Ghostbusters Answer the Call, does not count, because it shit all over the legacy of Ghostbusters and decided that it was going to go for its own woke agenda. It could have been a decent film. All you have to do is change a few things. 1. Have the female Ghostbusters be in the existence of the same world as the real Ghostbusters. Not the cartoon, the ones that exist in the first 2 movies. Have them open a franchise of Ghostbusters, because Ray mentions in the first movie that they wanted to do franchises. Or not Ray, Peter, sorry. And have that be the movie. Have it be, okay, they can be in Chicago, whatever, some other big major city. And it's these 4 ladies doing what they're doing, being scientists, being badass lesbians, whatever the fuck you want to do. I don't remember much about the 2016 movie, except for that the one girl was a lesbian, and jokes weren't funny. They all kind of fell flat. But, and then it would have been, okay, they're off. It's like Tokyo Drift for the Fast and Furious movies. Okay, it happened, but we don't acknowledge it. But Afterlife gave respect to Harold Ramis, respect to the character of Egon, because, that's what he would have done. Put the job first, so over his family. And it had the right amount of nostalgia in it. Although the Baby Puffs were a little too much nostalgia, I can say, because there really isn't any point except for it to be cute baby thing. Because Well, let's face it. Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was only called because Ray called it. The Paul Rudd didn't call anybody. I don't know Paul Rudd's character's name. No Time to Die, a movie that I thought I wouldn't like because I didn't like Skyfall. And I didn't like Spectre, but I actually like this one. It's a decent action film. It's well made, in my opinion. I didn't really see the woke agenda stuff that the other people were talking about, how horrible the film was. I don't see it. Although I do think it's funny at the end of the movie, after James Bond is nuked, they say, James Bond will return. Didn't he just die in a nuclear explosion? It won't be this continuity, it'll be some third one. Because Connery through Brosnan was one, and Craig was his own. Balin's Route, a YouTube movie, yes. I enjoyed it that much. It was a fun little YouTube movie that I've watched multiple times since it's been released. Nobody. Basically, John Wick, if John Wick was on the right side of the law. Technically, this movie is not a 2020 movie, but 2021 movie, but it is Justice League: The Snyder Cut. This film is what the movie should have been. Justice League in 2016 should have been. And when I first saw 2016, I actually liked it. But when I tried watching it at home again, I didn't. It was just, I caught up in the hype of seeing the Justice League all together on a movie screen. This one, where it is long, I still enjoyed it. Or enjoyed it. I only watched it twice. It's epic. It's what these comic movies kind of should be at the end of their cycle. Like, you know, like if take the Marvel wording, Phase 1, it should be some big epic thing, not just some random comic book movie like the Avengers and Age of Ultron and More of the Same and Infinity War. It should be some big epic showdown thing. It should be the end of the movie cycle. It's like, yeah, DC only did 3. Okay, Marvel did 5. You should have had a bigger thing because it was 5. Loki attacking New York, no big deal. Ultron wanting to wipe out the human race after being on the internet for 5 seconds, understandable. Then you finally get to Purple Guy, Thanos, and there's your big thing that should have been back in Phase 1. Some big world threat, not some itty bitty one. And that's my 2021 movie list. I did not watch things like The Matrix 4 yet. Probably won't because I keep hearing horrible reviews about it. Don't Look, Last Night in Soho, Tick Tick Boom, King Richard, Red Notice, House of Gucci, The Ranger in the Falls, The Eternal, the Elizabeth movie, Finch, Last Duel, Injustice, The Card Counter, Old, Jolt, Pig, Space Jam 2, Quiet Place 2, Luca, Tomorrow War, Those Who Wish Me Dead, and I believe that's it for movies that came out in 2021 that I have on my watch list. Oh, Raya. Okay, and that's it. Thanks for watching and see you next time.